So I was in the shops over the weekend looking for something to eat, something nice for dinner, and it crossed my mind that I hadn't seen any updates regarding the undercard of Joshua versus Franklin, despite the fight being less than 2 weeks away. So I checked out BoxRec, and as you can see on screen, it seems like the undercard has been finalized. There are a number of fights and a number of fighters on the undercard. And boy, oh boy, does it look dire. And now you guys know, a lot of you have followed the channel for a while, that I'm generally quite an optimistic guy. I try to maintain a glass as half full perspective and appreciate things for what they are. But this is less than stellar, to say the least. And this isn't really a surprise, unfortunately. A lot of Joshua's undercards have been weak. But when you consider how DAZN's popularity has nosedived recently, Joshua's popularity is waning, and this is seen as a fight. Many people are dissatisfied with it. Let's be real; they don't see it as a meaningful fight. They really needed a good undercard to sell to people, and I just don't think this does the job, in my opinion. And I've gone on record. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I have no problem with the main event, Joshua versus Franklin. In my mind, it's a perfectly acceptable fight when you look at the context of it. Joshua coming off of back-to-back losses. He's looking to rebuild under a new trainer, a new training setting. Jermaine Franklin, many people thought that he beat Dylan White. So in my mind, I don't see the issue with it. But I receive the point that it's not a great fight. It's not really being billed as much. It's not being marketed as a division defining fight or anything like that. It's really just how is Anthony Joshua going to look in his comeback. And I find it interesting. I wouldn't say I'm excited for the fight, not at all, but I'll have an eye on it. I'll be interested. But then if we look at the undercard fights, these leave a lot to be desired, I have to be honest. The chief support, I guess you could say, is Felix Cash going for the European middleweight title against Matteo Signani, I think his name is pronounced. Signani is 32, 6 and 3. I believe he's like 42 years old or 43 years old according to BoxRec. Yeah, no great shakes, I think it's fair to say. He's consistently fought for the EBU European title, so I guess you could say he's like a solid European level fighter. But in terms of the names, there's Gavor Kachikian. I recognise his name because he fought James DeGale back in 2014. He won a 12-round split decision. Matteo Signani beat Kachikian on a 12-round split decision, which, make of that what you will. I wouldn't say that's great form. And Emanuele Blandamura, I remember his name because he fought Billy Joe Saunders in 2014 as well. I think that might have actually been for the European title too. Let me just check. That was a long time ago. Yeah. So, this is, I guess you could say, a certified European level fighter. And look, I can't hold it against Felix Cash. He's been presented with a title, a European title opportunity. Yeah, go for it by all means. But, does it sell? I'm not sure. Especially when you consider that Austin Williams, Ammo Williams, is on the undercard. I think this would have been much more interesting if you had Felix Cash versus Austin Williams rather than Felix Cash, fighting for the EBU title, but against Signani, who, no disrespect, but he doesn't seem to be any great shakes. And it's not that Austin Williams is like any kind of world beater himself. He's still only 13-0, but at least there's a rivalry there. At least there's a little bit of controversy that can sell. And stylistically, it'd probably be a bit more of a competitive fight. What do I know? Maybe Signani goes in there and just bowls over Cash, but I doubt it. Fabio Wardley. Okay, Fabio Wardley is a good addition because he seems to be in entertaining fights these days. Yeah, he's a bit more of a blue-collar guy, and he's just, hasn't had the amateur background, hasn't had any amateur background, has really just got to where he's got by having good sparring sessions, being kind of, I don't want to say gifted, but given an opportunity. And he's given us some entertaining fights so far. He's someone who is not afraid to pull the trigger. When he feels like a fight is maybe hanging in the balance, he'll go for it. And that makes for very entertaining viewing. And he's actually, you got to give him credit, he's done a decent job so far. He took out Simon Vallily, who's, was a decent amateur. Um, Richard Latte, who obviously had that fight with Daniel Dubois and Rock Dubois, Eric Molina, Nick Webb, Daniel Martz, Chris Healy, not sure about him, Nathan Gorman. And the thing is, Fabio Wardley has stopped all these guys. So that's somewhat impressive. So I don't have a problem with Fabio Wardley being on the card. I think that's a good addition, as I say. But then if you look at who he's fighting Michael Coffey. And now, if this was 2 years ago, I'd be like, okay, you know what? That's cool, an undefeated Michael Coffey. But since then, Michael Coffey has lost to Jonathan Rice twice and lost his last fight. He retired, I think, in like the 6th round against Hovhannissian. And so I'm thinking in my head, okay, it's great that you got Fabio Wardley on, but why not have him fight the guy who beat Michael Coffey and Jonathan Rice? Jonathan Rice is a much better fighter than Michael Coffey. And, I understand it's probably going to be a bit more of a more dangerous fight than Fabio Wardley. But I think that would be a reasonable step up for Wardley. And it'd make for a more entertaining fight, more interesting fight. But I don't know, maybe that's too unrealistic. So, yeah, Michael Coffey, I've never really rated this guy. You can see it on the channel. I picked Johnny Rice to beat him, and I was quite confident in that prediction, and he did. So, next up, we have Austin Williams, who I mentioned before. He's going up against River Wilson Bent. River Wilson Bent, I don't know what you'd label him, because he's a somewhat young guy at 29, 14-2-1, only got 6 KO wins. One of his losses was by KO, and that was actually about 2 fights ago. He lost to Hamza Shiraz. Shiraz just blew him out in 2 rounds. Yeah, not very competitive. And stylistically, I reckon Austin Williams might be able to do a similar job. Maybe not in 2 rounds, but there or thereabouts, I think. Maybe 4 rounds or something, I don't know. But yeah, not a great matchup, that. Then we have everybody's favourite, the man, the myth, the legend, Campbell Hatton, 10-0, against Lewis Fielding, 10-7. You have the 328th ranked lightweight boxer against the 692nd. I think that speaks for itself. We have John Hedges after that versus Daniel Bocianski. Bocianski, some of you will remember, he fought Tommy Fury on the undercard of Tyson Fury versus Dylan White last April. He's actually got some ability, Bocianski. He's a big guy as well. Light heavyweight, he's about 6'3". He was actually considerably taller than Tommy Fury. And, he had some decent ability. I don't know, maybe saying that he came to win was a bit of a stretch, but he didn't just look for a comfy spot on the canvas. He actually went all 6 rounds with Tommy Fury, and he earned his money, let's say that. And John Hedges, I'm not actually sure I've seen John Hedges before, but he's 7-0, 2 knockouts. Yeah, these are low-level fights. These are like, could you say, do you remember when Eddie Hearn used to do the Next Gen shows? These are the kind of fights that would be on them. Campbell Hatton versus Louis Fielding. John Hedges versus Bocianski. Yeah, AJ undercards, I'm sorry, they need to be better than this. There are also 3 other fighters on the undercard who I've never heard before. There's Zayed Al-Mayouf, Peter Kadiru, and Jürgen Uldidaj, I think. Uldidaj. Albanian based in Germany. And none of their fights have been confirmed yet. So, yeah, this is weak. Let's be honest, this week. And I'm going to sum up by asking you guys, and maybe this is a bit of a redundant question, but does this make Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin even less appealing when you consider that the undercard is this week? Because there's DAZN has obviously recently upped their prices, And once again, it comes down to the quality of what they're selling. The price itself, okay, yeah, it's not ideal, but it was inevitable. It was going to happen. When you consider that the price has gone up, but then the quality seems to have gone down, or at the bare minimum, it's stagnated. It stayed the same. What are you going to do, you guys? Are you going to vote with your pocket? And I mean, you have to vote with your pocket either way, regardless of whether you pay for it or not. But are you, after seeing this stacked undercard, are you any more inclined to pay for a DAZN subscription, or maybe you already have one? But even, I just want to hear your opinions, whether you have a DAZN subscription, whether you don't. Are you going to be tuning in for this, or will it just be, wait until 10, 11 o'clock for the main event and just watch that? But let me know. Maybe I'm being unfair. You guys can give your perspective in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you. But for now, people, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.